I appreciate it. We'll have plenty of time to chat throughout today's program. We built that in. We obviously want everybody to be free to network and chat with everybody who's here. So I'm Joe Petty. I'm with the County of Warren. I'm the Director of Economic Development. And again, thank you all for being here. Thank you to the Inland Port for hosting. I encourage you to take a look out the window. Wish we were all outside because it's gorgeous out there today, but again, this is a great facility for us to do this program. So we have multiple people from the Inland Port, but they will have their own time to shine up here and let you know exactly what they do. We will kick it off today with the Front Royal Warren County EDA. We have two board members here with us, Jory Martin and the Vice Chair, Scott Jenkins. And we also have a few other folks here today. Again, we'll have plenty of time to chat. We have the Chair of the Warren County Board of Supervisors, Vicki Cook, here with us. The Mayor of Front Royal, Lori Cockrell, there she is, and members of our CTV board. Mark Merrill is here, so thank you for joining us. And we will continue through the program. I know we're a little, and then lunch will be provided. We'll have a break in which we'll be able to, again, sit down with some other people, talk. We have folks from brokers to developers, businesses here, again, your local officials. And it's all about talking about economic development here in the county. We have a great location, obviously with the Inland Port, 6681. And I think all of you all are what makes that so special and make that happen over the past 30, 40 years here in Warren County. So I'm going to kick it off to Scott. Jory, I don't know which one. And I can click through the slides.
First, yes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming out. It's a great turnout. And this is the first time we've done this in a while. We're looking forward to having quarterly gatherings on different topics. Thank you to the Port today for hosting to be the first of our sessions this year, but look for more of them to come. I want to share just a few remarks from my personal perspective, and then I'll turn over to Jory to talk a little bit more about some of the details of what industries we're focusing on, and a little bit more about our local workforce. I'm Scott Jenkins. I'm the Vice Chair of the Front Royal Warren County EDA. When I joined the EDA board almost 2 years ago, I did it out of a desire to serve the community and give back a little bit to the community that we joined in 2012 when we moved out here from Northern Virginia. But when we decided to move out to Warren County, it was to start a new business. We operate a historic property and operate a bed and breakfast there. We've seen the county struggle through controversy and some financial hard times in recent years. But when I joined the board, I did it because I was encouraged that the current EDA board was looking forward and moving aggressively to move things forward. And today I'm even more encouraged than I was 2 years ago when I made that decision to accept an invitation to fill out an application to join the board. Warren County has so much potential. We've got a strong work ethic and a vibrant climate for both small and large businesses. Since coming here in 2012, I've seen dramatic changes, and I feel a vibrant optimism that we have such great possibilities. With a surrounding natural beauty and an advantageous geographic location, we're truly positioned to grow and to prosper. And we're aggressively putting our past troubles behind us so that we as an economic development authority can focus on the future. And our focus is on business retention and expansion. We really appreciate the support that all of you bring to the community and the employment opportunities you provide for our residents. We want you to prosper, and we want you to know that we're here to support you. Through meetings like this one today, we learn from each other, and we show our mutual commitment to making Warren County an even better place to live and to work. We strive to strengthen and expand our local economy in ways that promote a high quality of life for our residents, while maintaining the character and natural beauty that this community has and is such a special place. Our diversified economic vision focuses on building a resilient local economy that can adapt and prosper even as conditions change. We know that a diversified, resilient economy relies on having a solid base of large, medium, and small businesses, and we're committed to helping both our larger business partners and our small business entrepreneurs to succeed. That's why we're reconstituting the EDA's Small Business Loan Program. You'll hear more about that in the coming days as we look forward to soon announcing the members for a new Small Business Loan Advisory Committee. Our community's assets include a strong workforce, a great location, an enabling infrastructure such as the port and the highways, the rail, and the EDA also owns several prime industrial parcels, including sites at the Stevens Industrial Park, Happy Creek Technology Park, and the old Avtex redevelopment site. We're actively working to find partners to work with us and match up those sites to bring the right opportunities to fruition. If you've got ideas, we'd love to hear them. Jory's going to talk next a little bit about our industry focuses and our local workforce. We're glad you're here. Thank you.
I won't take up much time. I'm Jory Martin, and it is really a pleasure to be here. This is a program that a number of years ago we did quarterly meetings, and we found that each of the meetings, new connections were made, a new vitality to the community was introduced, and it was a wonderful way to partner and learn. Our population has grown since 2010. We now are at 40,000. I think you want to go, I don't want to screw up the numbers too badly. 40,727, and we have 63% of our workforce is over the age of 16, or our population. 52% of our population commutes outside of Warren County. One of the goals that we would like to see for Warren County is to bring these folks home. And that is something that you all do as employers and partners within this community. And we are really looking forward to working with each and every one of you in having your businesses grow and at the same time enhance the workforce within Warren County. And we do have, in the surrounding area, we have so many of the educational assets here. We have Laurel Ridge. We have four-year universities within an hour. A forgotten asset we don't talk about a lot is the Smithsonian Research Center, where George Mason has a school there as well for biodiversity. So we are a truly diverse community with lots of opportunities here. 88% of our population has a high school diploma or more. 22% have a bachelor's degree or higher. So we are a workforce that is educated, and it is continuing to grow. And we are looking forward with the EDA and with the schools to partnering together to make sure that we provide you with the workforce and listen to your needs of what you need to make your businesses grow. And again, I keep saying grow, but make sure that you have that workforce here. Our top, which shouldn't surprise you, but our top industries that we have, and forgive me, I am going to have to glance at my notes, but it is transportation and material moving, office administration, food preparation and manufacturing and serving, sales and related, and we have a strong educational instruction and library here. So those are, we have a lot of opportunity here. We have a diverse workforce, and we're looking forward to working with each and every one of you to again make this a wonderful place to live and work. And we'd like to bring our workforce home and give them opportunity to enjoy the benefits of living and working in Warren County. And I'm going to turn this over to Joe again so he can
Yeah.
keep the program moving.
I don't know if anybody has any questions for Jory or Scott at this time of what the EDA is working on. Again, with their mission moving forward. Again, it's exactly that, looking forward on this economic development here in the county and in the town. We are all Warren County. And so if you don't have questions for them now, again, we'll have more opportunity later today. We're going to open the floor up that we can not put anybody on the spot, but ask questions of individuals at the end of the day. But I also don't want to take up any more time. I know, again, we're excited to be at the port. We have the port here who's going to give us an update on what they're doing. And I don't know if Chris, you ready to take? I don't want to.
I'm going to put a presentation. I'll just say real quick, I'll be unplanned, but why not? I want to recognize the port colleagues that are here, and then I'll introduce Kathy Vick, who's our Chief Development Public Affairs Officer. But I'll just real quick, maybe by raise of hand, the port colleagues. We have Barbara Nelson sitting next to Lee Cranford. And then Lee's our man on the ground here, does a wonderful job. I know many of us had years of working with and friendships with Stan Crockett. Lee has done his best to fill Mr. Crockett's shoes and doing a great job. We really appreciate his effort. We have Laura Swankler. Am I missing anybody? Oh, of course. Warren Foley. Thank you. I'm sorry. It's line of sight. And then a partner of ours here in the Shenandoah Valley, Carrie Turner, is also here, and she provides the Port of Virginia a lot of support. But I'll take this chance just to quickly introduce I guess my boss through Miss Barbara Nelson to Kathy Vick. Kathy Vick joined the port back in 2013 as our Chief Public Affairs Officer. Like I said, today she serves the role of Chief Public Affairs and Development Officer. Prior to joining the port, she served on the McDonald administration, and she has really led the charge within our public affairs team to reposition the port, to really help us get that message of value and impact, not only to the legislator, but to our communities that we're here in. And so we're really excited for today's opportunity to be in Front Royal and talk about the impact that the VIP has had for a number of years and what the VIP will be in the future. So with that, Kath, I'll hand it to you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's a habit up here. We like to recognize people. We said Mark Merrill's here from the CTV. I saw Ty Lawson sneak in, so wanted to welcome him as well. And Faith Power, one of our commissioners of our board of commissioners at the Virginia Port Authority, who lives right here in your area. So in addition to Lee, Faith is always available to hear from you about what's going on. She is our eyes and ears. Our Board of Commissioners meets every other month, and so she's there to bring ideas and opportunities to us from your area. So please feel free. Sorry, Faith, I'm putting you on the spot, but I know you're willing to do it. So also, just before, because you never can get a day away, I was looking forward to spending a day and out here in non-Hampton Roads or in Richmond, where I'm spending a lot of my time during the General Assembly. But at 11:30, I had a call with VEDP, who was very excited that we were here. He said he's been working with you all in Warren County, Vince Barnett, and very excited that we're up here visiting with you all. So wanted to give you regards from him. I'm going to do a sort of a 40,000 foot, this is who we are as the port, and then sort of focus in on what that means here in Front Royal. And happy to answer questions, but I'm glad Chris introduced the crew. I was going to do the same so that during the fellowship period, you know who to go and ask questions and ping on. But we do have 6 terminals total. That are under the control, I'll call it, of the Port of Virginia. And I say control because we own some of the facilities like this one, and then we have long-term leases on 2 of them. Our other inland port, Richmond Marine Terminal, is a long-term lease, and then Virginia International Gateway in Portsmouth is a long-term lease. The rest of them we own. And you can see in Norfolk and in Portsmouth at Virginia International Gateway are our 2 main container facilities. And I'll show you a little bit more on NIT later, because that's sort of the partner of the inland port where the rail comes from and goes to move the cargo coming through the inland port. Then we have Portsmouth Marine Terminal, also in Hampton Roads, that used to be containers, and then it was a mix of diverse cargo. It's been roll on, roll off, it's been bulk, it's been break bulk, but now we have dedicated it to be an offshore wind hub. And so we have leased 70 acres to Dominion Energy to be a laydown and staging area for their Coastal Virginia offshore wind project. And then the other 110 acres we have leased to Siemens Gamesa Renewable Energy, the first foreign direct investment by an original equipment manufacturer from the offshore wind industry here in the United States. So we're super proud of that. And then Newport News is a multi-use facility also in Hampton Roads. And then we have our two inland ports, Richmond Marine Terminal, to which we run a barge service up and down the James River. And then, of course, right here in Front Royal, which is, and it's funny because when I tell other groups about you all, they all go, is there water there? No, there's not. It's a rail intermodal facility. So one import train, one export train every day. Despite all the other trains that go through here that you might think are ours, we have one import train, one export train every day. So, and that's run by Norfolk Southern. And so that's why the bulk of it comes from Norfolk International Terminal, because they do the bulk of their business through Norfolk. So you can look out the window, but also here's just an overview, 161 acres here with about 17,000 feet of track. We are doing a project to expand that, and I'll talk about that a little later. But we do log stuffing and fumigation here. We've got 7 operational hustlers. Those move the cargo around the terminal. And then this is a foreign trade zone. And I don't know if you're familiar with what that means, but it means that importers can bring in component parts and not pay the duties if they're putting them into a finished product that they're then going to export. So that's a huge benefit in attracting our favorite kind of companies that use us both ways. So during the supply chain crisis, you may have seen the 60 Minutes, right, or read in the news, national news, all about congestion and how cargo just couldn't move, and vessels were off the coast of California and vessels were off the coast of New York, and they were waiting and they couldn't get to their warehouses, and there weren't enough truckers, and there weren't. Guess what? You didn't hear that about Virginia. Why? Well, it's because of what we like to call the Virginia model. Remember I said we have either ownership or long-term lease on all of our facilities. We also have one common terminal operator. So let's contrast that to an LA Long Beach or New York. They're a landlord port, so they own the facilities, but they then lease them to separate corporate entities that are competing with each other for business. So they don't have the flexibility and agility that we do. For instance, think about those 2 large container terminals that I showed you. If the berths are full at NIT in Norfolk, but there's a berth available in Portsmouth, we can move that service over and continue to work that vessel instead of it waiting off the coast until we're done working the ones that are already there. In New York, that's not the case because that's his competitor. He's never going to say, yeah, sure, go over there, right? So big advantage for us. The other thing is the technology that we use is extremely helpful to us in the fluidity of how we move the cargo. So you couldn't really see it in these pictures that I showed you because they were too small, but we have semi-automated stacking cranes that are able to groom the stacks at night. So we have a truck reservation system where we say, Walmart's coming to get box 1, 2, 3, 4 between 8 and 9 o'clock. Amazon's coming to get box 5, 6, 7, 8 between 10 and 11 o'clock. We're going to make sure that those are positioned in the right order so that when they come to pick them up, we're not moving boxes to get them out of the way for them. It's kind of like the old game of Tetris, if you ever played it, right? You got to stack them the right way. So we're able to do that at night with no labor because the cranes have an algorithm where it interfaces with the reservation system and it just puts them where they're supposed to go. So what that means is when you come in, if you're Amazon or Walmart and you're picking up your box from the Port of Virginia, you are in the gate and out of the gate within 35 minutes. In New York, LA, that might be 3 or 4 hours. Why? Because they don't know what you're coming to get until you get there. And then they got to go move things out of the way to find your box and bring it to you. So think about the efficiency of that. It really, really helps. The other thing is we have a very robust asset management system where we have life cycle replacement. So we don't have a lot of downtime on our equipment where it's out of service. And again, because of the automation, we're not working it to death, right? Like we're able to man the manned vehicles that need to be manned with an appropriate amount of labor, and we're able to keep our equipment in service, including our chassis. That's the last piece of our secret sauce. You probably saw some as you came in today. We were the first port in North America to have its own chassis pool, and that, believe it or not, is a choke point sometimes in certain markets where they just don't have the availability of the chassis. Think about the supply chain end to end. And I don't mean to pick on LA Long Beach, except I mean to pick on LA Long Beach. But if you go there, right, and they pick up their box and they leave with it on the chassis and they go to the warehouse and the warehouse is full, he's not going to not go pick up another box, right? He's going to leave it, a lot of times, have to leave it on the chassis because they don't have a grounded operation. And then he goes and he gets another chassis and he pulls that box. Warehouse is still full. You see what happens. They don't have enough chassis. So Charleston, during the pandemic, tried to start a chassis pool. And guess what? They couldn't get chassis. Why? There's a supply chain crisis. They couldn't get them. We actually make them right here in Emporia, Virginia. So we were able to continue to infuse into our pool the entire time and make sure that we had enough to keep pace with the demand that we were seeing. Because we were growing 25% year over year, 14% year over year, right? That's not normal. Our compounded annual growth rate is typically 3.5%. So you can see the surge, and that was happening all over the United States. Why? Because we were all at home pointing and clicking, right? We weren't going anywhere. We weren't eating out. We were like looking around going, man, I really redo this living room or this sunroom or this thing that I'm sitting in that I usually don't see because I'm at work, right? So as a result of remaining fluid and agile and not having those same issues, we were named the most efficient port in North America by S&P. Super, super proud. We're still number 23 globally, which means we still have room to grow and improve, and we constantly do that. We're always looking for those continuous improvements. Again, 40,000 foot view. Where's our market reach? You know, a lot of folks are like, oh, well, you're just the Mid-Atlantic. You don't have the population center that New York has or that Savannah has with Atlanta. But really, we're a global gateway to the entire Midwest. If you look at our reach, really within 48 hours, you can get to half the country. And during the supply chain crisis, what was interesting, we have a robust rail network, right? Norfolk Southern and CSX. There were services that were using Norfolk Southern to go to Chicago, and then Union Pacific was picking up the cargo and taking it back to the West Coast because they could go through the Panama Canal, come here and get their cargo to California faster than sitting and waiting to get their vessel into California.
Ouch.
Turned it on its head. And then our great team, Lauren Foley, right? Sales team, they went out to the almond growers in California and said, hey, you know what? We've got cargo, we've got boxes you can refill if you want to export your almonds out of Virginia instead of California, instead of waiting. So we were able to take advantage of that. Looking at the volumes, calendar year, I told you, I sort of gave you the pace, right? The 25%, then the 14%, and then last year we still continued to see 5%. What was happening with the disruptions in China and the disruptions in Europe is, frankly, beneficial cargo owners freaked out a little bit, and they're like, we don't know if we're going to be able to get this cargo, so they just surged it all in, you know, just in case, instead of just in time, which is their usual model. Like, I am pretty sure everything I bought for my kids for Christmas was here last February. right? I mean, it was just sitting and hanging out and waiting. It's also why I think every time I open my phone, 65% off, 75%. They're just trying to move the inventory, right? Because now things are starting to sort of normalize. We're seeing that. A lot of ports are seeing double-digit declines. We're still slightly growing. So we're super happy about that. And again, it's because of the stability and the consistency that we were able to provide. That resonates. That's what folks want. They don't want these peaks and valleys in the service. There's going to be peaks and valleys in the market, right? But we try very hard to be an end-to-end solution provider. We could just focus on our terminals and say, well, we moved it. Who cares where it goes next? But that's not what we do, right? We've got Chris and Barb who are focused on transportation policy. We've got Laura and others who are in our communities working with folks like you all on what's the right balance. I heard you loud and clear. What you're looking for is balance, right? And so we try to work with you and understand that and match up the right fits, because that's how we're going to get that consistency, reliability, and stability for folks in the market. And it's what's going to make them choose Virginia. Not just the Virginia port, but the Commonwealth as where they want to be to bring their business. So, honing in a little bit on that business right here that comes through the inland port, we've got a variety of companies that use the inland port on a regular basis. Since it started, 46 companies have located in Virginia that use the inland port. So it is an economic catalyst for all types of business, whether it's distribution, logistics, manufacturing. We see a little bit of everything, but just wanted to sort of focus in on that because, again, we see ourselves as a partner and a facilitator of business. So looking forward, we're continuing to make investments to make sure that we can maintain that reliability, stability, and consistency. We've got $1.4 billion capital plan right now in action. We are deepening and widening the harbor down in Hampton Roads to make sure that the largest vessels can come in, that they can come in fully loaded so we can get those first in and last out calls, meaning we are the closest to market if you locate here in Virginia. And the widening will allow two-way traffic. So again, it just opens up our capacity because we don't have to have vessels waiting for one to leave until the next one can come in. Currently, that's what happens with those large container vessels. And guess what? It happens everywhere else on the East Coast. So when we do this, we become the deepest and the most fluid because we have that two-way traffic. Our central rail yard and Norfolk International Terminals, again, remember I said that's your partner here at the inland port. So we are going from 350,000 of lift capacity to 610,000. So almost doubling the amount of rail we're able to handle at the central rail yard. That will be complete in January of 2024. So we'll be able to build the growth there. The technology I was telling you about that we have on NIT South and at Virginia International Gateway, we are implementing that on NIT North. That is a $650 million investment. And just like what we did at NIT South, it is like changing the tires on a race car while it's going around the track, because this is a fully operational terminal right now. We'll take stacks offline 3 at a time to rebuild them into these semi-automated stacks so that we have that same technology that we've deployed around the rest. The only thing that's a little bit different here is what you see in this picture are low profile ship-to-shore cranes. Typically, the cranes would boom up. Because we're in the flight path of the U.S. Navy, we're the next door neighbor to the largest naval installation in the world. We need to accommodate that. So these will boom back instead of booming up so that we make sure that we are not interfering with the safety and the visibility of the pilots going into Fort Eustis, Chambers Field, and the Norfolk Naval Station. And then finally here at the VIP, Virginia Inland Port. We call it VIP. That's like our cute name for it. There are 2 projects going on. One, which is ours, inside the gate. We're investing a little over $20 million. Construction has begun, so during the networking time, you can look out the window and see. We are adding about 4,400 feet of new track length. What that will do is add capacity that will allow us to grow for the next 15 years. The amount of additional cargo we think the businesses that you all are going to attract will need right here at the inland port. The really good news is it doesn't mean more trains. So before you get worried, there will be 1 import train, 1 export train every day. Those other 22 trains that go through this intersection, not ours. 1 import train, 1 export train every day. If you take nothing else from this conversation, we have 2 trains. These will allow longer trains to come in so that we can accommodate more cargo, and will allow us, because of the storage track, the existing track we'll use as storage track, we'll be able to clear that main line sooner. So that will be a benefit to the community. So that's the investment that we're making. And then we partnered with VDOT and said, while we're doing this expansion, let's go to the federal government and leverage the investment the state is making to get them to do something about the issues that you are having with those other 22 trains and R2, right? And let's do a grade separation where we can provide some relief. So that's one of the things that I said. We look at end to end. How do we help the communities that we work with benefit from our activity and the relationships that we have? That's why our CTV members are here, because they're our partners, right? And looking at transportation solutions. So there's a $15 million federal grant, and then money that Department of Rail and Public Transportation has put in on the state side in order to do a $28 million upgrade and grade separation, which will be done in 2026. One of the other things that we have really been focused on, and I'm really excited to announce, we have a decarbonization plan to be net zero by 2040. And that's in 3 scopes. 1, the equipment that we control, the things that we do on terminal, we want to be 0 emission. The technology is not keeping pace as we'd like, but we are deploying, like all of those automatic stacking cranes I told you about, they are electric. We were the first to deploy hybrid shuttle trucks around so we've reduced by 60% our emissions by the trucks that are going around the yard. We continue to experiment with all electric, moving from hybrid next level, and with some hydrogen based technologies. But some of them are only in alpha and beta, so we're working with the manufacturers to test them, to pilot them. Look, I'm going to say something nice about California. They're a little ahead, but they have a lot of mandates, and they've been doing it. So we do work with them to test some of these technologies and share best practices. What are the maintenance issues you're seeing? What's the life cycle compared to current? All of those things, so we can evaluate when is the right time to invest in these new technologies. But scope 2 is how we source our energy. So good for us. We're going all electric. But if that electricity comes from dirty, right? They're making it with dirty sources. Are we really doing our part? No. So we went to Dominion Energy for most of our facilities and entered into a power purchase agreement where, based on their renewable portfolio, which includes nuclear, wind, and solar, and then we said, what's the gap? Our percentage of that, what's the gap? And there are 5 solar projects that are dedicated to the Commonwealth of Virginia, and we're taking down an additional 10% on top of our 8% that we already get. So 20% of that solar power is dedicated, so that by next year, when that 5th solar project comes online, we will be at 100% clean energy at all of our Dominion served facilities. But here we are serviced by Rappahannock Electric Cooperative. And so we went to them and we said, we want to do that with you too. And so starting on January 1, we entered into a power purchase agreement with them to source all of our energy here at the inland port from clean energy. So we're super excited about that, and hopefully you will share that news. And the final is scope 3. and we're still honing in on that. That's the folks who use our port, right? And so think about it. We're scope 3 for Amazon and Walmart, and they're scope 3 for us, the trucks that they send. And so we're starting to look at electric dray trucks, and obviously we're already focused on using rail, using the barge, things that take truck emissions off the road. But that will continue to evolve. And then we're doing some pretty fun projects where we're doing some carbon capture with some living shorelines, and others where we can take the carbon out of the air through forestation and things like that to help offset. And then finally, just want to talk a little bit about what we call port-centric development. So what we've seen, again, because of that consistency, stability, reliability that we've been able to provide, even in the most chaotic of times, the last 2 years, we are seeing more investors want to invest in Virginia than ever before. In fact, 15 new developers have knocked on our door, or we've knocked on theirs because we're pretty aggressive, and said, why aren't we in Virginia? That is where the action is. That is where we can move our cargo. And we are having to work with them to find that right balance, to work with the communities, and to find the right places to put new distribution and fulfillment centers. Again, think about it. 3 years ago, pre-COVID, I don't know about you, my kids, back to school shopping, we went to the outlet mall, we went to the mall, right? And we went to Target and we bought school supplies. Not anymore. You know what they do? They send me a list of links. Here's all the things I need for school. Here's the clothes that I want. Here, right? And we point and we click. And so what that means is yesterday's mall is today's distribution or fulfillment center. And so we're going to see more of it. It's not a bad thing. It's what you want. It's our change in behavior that's driving it. Here's the other good news. I hear a lot, we don't want those jobs. We want manufacturing jobs. Okay, well, let me tell you, I get it, right? It used to be that there was this huge differential in the wages and the skill sets needed for those two types of industries. It is no more. 90 cents on the dollar starting wages in logistics and distribution to manufacturing, right? And I always say, it's not your granddaddy's warehouse. They are not this dirty old floor driving around forklifts. It is semi-automated, high-skilled. There are training programs. I heard you loud and clear. You've got a pipeline of folks who are ready. And I don't know about you, but I have 4 kids, and I want there to be jobs in my hometown that they want to come home to. So we're trying to work very closely with all of the communities across the Commonwealth to make sure that as we're seeing this interest, we're finding the right fit, we're preparing the workforce, and you may have seen in the General Assembly, there are solutions around transportation infrastructure. That's the other thing that we see is, well, we don't want more trucks, or we don't want more congestion, whether it's manufacturing or logistics, right? We don't want that stress on our system. We are working very closely with the CTB and with the Secretary of Transportation, with DRPT, to look at those transportation solutions ahead of time to make economic development more of a focus when we're doing transportation planning. In fact, this year in the General Assembly, we had a bill that requires when localities are doing, they already, when they do a comp plan, have to do a transportation plan that goes along with it. And there was a whole list of things that they're supposed to consider. Well, port was there, but not freight corridors, where that freight is moving, either from the port or to other areas or between counties, right? I mean, if your county's the pass-through, well, you're getting all the traffic, but you're not getting any of the benefit, right? So that's the other thing, is we want to make sure that the revenue from the new development is going back into the community and helping prepare through infrastructure and through workforce. And so we're taking a much more holistic approach, which I think will really help. And we ask you to partner with us in doing that. And that's why we're doing things like we're doing today. So I really look forward to getting to know you all more. I appreciate you having us. Please, during the networking or fellowship time, reach out to us, give us your ideas, tell us how we can partner with you. We want to help find these end-to-end solutions with you and be a good neighbor. Thanks.
So thank you for that. I think that just highlights exactly why, the Commonwealth of Virginia is a great place to do business. Warren County is kind of that, like I think you said, gateway, global gateway and that hub. So we look forward to continuing our partnership with the Inland Port VIP on many different projects. Again, they showed how they're a great community partner with the flyover out here to address some of our community concerns, but also as that huge economic driver here in our community since 1989. So we thank you for that. We're gonna, break now for lunch. Give you all a time to talk and communicate with one another. When we come back from lunch, we're going to address some of those other things about, again, we have the Regional Commission here to talk about regionally why we're so successful in economic development. And we also have one of these local partners that was shown up here, why they decided to come to Warren County and chose the Shenandoah Valley for their new development. So we're going to break for lunch and we'll see you back here in a few minutes.